Part 44. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 432. The World of Swords, Kirito's Home. With 300 more reputation, can you revive my friend? Asuna still wanted to confirm. Asuna always felt that it was too simple, or that the price of resurrection was too low. Even with the 300 prestige added, it was only 800. Ghost Girl Lidao seemed a little impatient. Humph, resurrecting an ordinary human being is just a matter of moving my fingers. I can still fool you guys, not to mention 1, but 10,000. As long as you have money, I can do it overnight. Resurrected you. Kirito and Asuna looked at each other. You don't need to resurrect so many, let's resurrect one of my friends first. Asuna stepped forward, found the transfer location in her personal template, and transferred 300 reputation to the ghost girl Lidao. Asuna paid the payment quite happily. 300 reputation to hire a monster to dig a friend's grave, although it sounds strange, but Asuna still chose this way. After all, they don't have any good means of digging out the ashes, and they can't shovel them by themselves. For gamers like them, 300 reputation is just a game currency. Hey, don't worry, I won't disappoint you. Seeing that the benefactor paid so happily, the ghost girl Lidao's attitude improved a lot, and a gentle smile appeared on her big wrinkled face, but her big face was still terrifying. Being able to earn 300 more prestige is definitely a big profit for Lidao. She is not a popular character like Kirito Asuna, and it is not easy to use the status of a heroic spirit to earn prestige. In the previous summoning of heroic spirits in the original world, in order to restore youth and earn prestige, the ghost girl Lidao naturally couldn't wait to be summoned as a heroic spirit. Unfortunately, as a heroic spirit who is not very powerful in battle, and there are not many shots, Lidao is exhausted. Live, earn 1 or 200 prestige in a day. This is the tragedy of low popularity. Fortunately, she can use technology to make money. This time, she can earn 300 just by digging a grave, which is simply free. In Lidao's eyes, the 3 humans in front of her are definitely fat sheep. Kirito and the others also found that when it came to payment, the witch and monster suddenly became gentle, as if she had changed from a fierce old hag to a kind old grandmother on the side of the road. This difference made the 3 of them realize the importance of prestige even more. Because it was too much attention during the day, Tongren took Lidao to the cemetery where Yuki was at night. At about 2:30 in the middle of the night, 3 people and a monster stood in front of Yuki's tombstone. In the middle of the night, the silent cemetery looked very gloomy and lonely, and there were occasional sounds of insects around. As the strongest swordsman in Alo, Yuki has many friends in the game, and there are many people who admire her. People come to worship her all the time. In front of Yuki's tombstone, fresh bouquets and tributes are placed. There are still people coming to worship during the day. Asuna looked at Yuki's tombstone, and fell into the memory again. The girl who kept calling her sister and died in her arms had made a promise with Yuki. No matter which world we are in, I will definitely meet you again, and then we will take another adventure together. Kirito seemed to sense the change in Asuna's mood, and patted Asuna's shoulder from the side. Okay, don't get in the way here, people will be resurrected soon, you all back away, Lidao waved his hand. When Kirito and the others retreated a little, she raised the scythe in her hand and pointed it at the tombstone and grave in front of her. The scythe in her hand didn't quite match her image, but there was no sense of disobedience. Lidao was no longer familiar with such things as opening a tomb. Open it for me. Peng. The sickle was drawn down, and a huge wind blade was drawn out of the sickle, and the stone tablet and the tomb were blasted together. The huge explosion stunned Kirito and Asuna. They thought they would use digging, but they didn't expect this. The monster directly blasted the tomb. Everything is for Yuki. Asuna closed her eyes, not daring to look at the shattered tomb in front of her. I didn't expect that one day I would desecrate my friend's ashes like this. But I have to say that the ghost girl Lidao's tomb robbing skills have indeed reached the pinnacle level. The tomb was broken into slag, but the urn inside was unscathed. There are people coming around, let's go. After Lidao took out Yuki's urn, he waved his hand, and a gust of evil wind appeared under his feet, and the huge wind swept away Kirito and others beside him. Lidao was already familiar with running after digging the grave. Soon, Lidao landed with the ashes and Kirito to a quiet place, like a lawn of a park, because it was late at night, and there was no one around. Hey, the three of you are waiting for me here for an hour. After an hour, the person you want to resurrect will be able to come back. After Lidao finished speaking, he left Kirito and the others behind, and disappeared in place in a space vortex. Li Tao is a technical talent designated by Xiaoruo, so Xiaoruo gave Li Tao the highest authority in the Hall of Valor. He can travel freely in the fantasy world and have some other special functions. In terms of this authority alone, Li Tao is indeed Xiaoruo is a heroic spirit at the confidant level. And Li Tao is really upbeat. After learning about his job content, he desperately studied pottery firing in order to earn prestige, transformed his own ghost kill, and even shortened the time for pottery firing to revive ordinary people to 1 hour. After the monster old woman disappeared, the three of them stood in the open space where they landed. The three of them didn't know what to do for a while. For them, all they could do now was to wait. After finding a place to sit down, the three of them quietly waited for the return of the monster old lady. Do you think the old lady will be resurrected? The surrounding atmosphere was a bit awkward. Sinan broke the peaceful situation. It should be. I don't think that mother-in-law is lying to us. If she wants to harm us, we can't resist at all, Asuna said after taking a deep breath. It's just that her body was trembling slightly. I don't know if it was because of the excitement that her friend was about to be resurrected, or because it was too cold at night. Well, I believe Yuaki will be resurrected. Kirito looked up at the moon in the sky, wondering what he was thinking. What happened today has completely shattered Kirito's three views, and he seems to need to calm down. Shino wanted to say something more, but Asuna and Kirito seemed unwilling to continue talking, and Shino didn't intend to disturb them any longer. At this moment, Sinan saw a familiar male figure appearing not far away. Xiaoruo. Why are you here? Even in such a dark night, with the help of moonlight, Sinan still recognized Xiaoruo. Hearing Shino's voice, Kirito and Asuna also looked over, and sure enough, Xiaoruo's figure appeared from the darkness. Everyone, long time no see. Xiaoruo has been silently watching the transactions in this world, and didn't plan to intervene at the beginning, because there will be many heroic spirits to be traded in the future, and it is impossible for him to appear every time, so it is best to let nature take its course and stay behind the scenes of. But Xiaoruo was very concerned about the resurrected character this time, and finally chose to appear. Yuaki, whose real name is Kano Kapokji, and whose game name is Absolute Sword. Xiaoruo used to like the character of Absolute Sword and the content of Absolute Sword when watching the sword animation, and also recognized the strength of Absolute Sword. There are not many powerful players in the sword world, and Absolute Sword can be counted as one. Absolute Sword, the absolutely invincible sword, the unique sword. In the current Fantasy Hall of Valor, there are too few top-level heroic spirits, which can be counted on one hand, so more powerful heroic spirits need to be recruited. At least the number of heroic spirits must catch up with the Fate world. Yuki is Xiaoruo's target this time. Yuaki's talent is definitely the top in the world of sword art online, and may not even be weaker than Kirito, who has the aura of the protagonist. In the case of a one-handed sword, Kirito may not be her opponent, and Yuaki is still. It has broken through the game system and created top combo sword skills such as Aria of the Virgin. This level is no longer achievable. Talent, unique swordsmanship talent. It's a pity that her real body died of illness. Yuuki was a player who fought against illness all her life. In the original work, the death of Absolute Sword should be regarded as the most regrettable character. On the day she passed away, most of the Allo players knelt on one knee to bid her farewell. This is the supreme honor of a player. Absolute Sword may not be able to reach the level of T0 heroic spirits, and cannot be truly invincible, but there must be T1 level heroic spirits. Not to mention, Absolute Sword is still a beautiful girl with purple hair, and her cute appearance can also give her a lot of points. Today's Fantasy Hall of Valor lacks such masters. Sinan, long time no see. Sioruo walked up to Sinan, and patted Sinan's head habitually. I said, we will meet again, and, since we haven't seen each other for so long, of course I came to see you. Really? I thought you had forgotten me. Shino couldn't help but rant, but when she heard Sioruo came to see her, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but rise, and her happiness was completely expressed on her face. Kirito and Asuna had already surrounded them. Sioruo, do you know what original realm is? If you know, I hope you can tell us. Tongren looked into Sioruo's eyes and said seriously. I can't say much about original realm. You just need to treat it as a game. I can only say that the reputation value is very useful to you. At this time, Sioruo's hand had unconsciously wrapped her arms around Shino's waist. It had been too long since they had met each other, and Shino blushed, but she didn't resist, and quietly leaned against Sioruo's body. Tongren still wanted to ask Sioruo something, but Sioruo didn't answer Tongren's question. Tongren couldn't see what to ask, so he had to give up. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 433. Tick, tick. The sound of the watch hands rolling is especially clear in the silent night. The flow of time seemed to slow down, and an hour seemed to pass like a century. An hour later, a black vortex appeared. This time, two figures appeared. Lidao, the ghost girl, and a skinny little girl in a black cloak. Here's what you want. The ghost girl Lidao gave a push, and the little girl in the black cloak took a few steps forward, with a hint of bewilderment in her eyes. When she looked at Asuna and Kirito, there seemed to be a little more shine. Elder sister. The little girl rushed towards Asuna. Yuki. Asuna hugged the scrawny little girl. Yuki, whose full name is Kano Kapokji, died because of the HIV virus. At the last moment of her life, Yuki was already skinny. Can be blown down. At this moment, Li Tao also noticed Sioruo, who was standing aside, and Sinan, who was very close to Sioruo. Lord Sioruo. Li Tao was a little surprised, and saluted Sioruo respectfully. Sioruo waved her hand lightly, ignored Li Tao, but looked at the fragile little girl. Seeing that Sioruo didn't pay attention to her, Li Tao broke into a cold sweat behind her back. Fortunately, she didn't embarrass these human beings before. The relationship between the girl wearing glasses and Lord Sioruo is obviously unusual. If I offended them before, the consequences unbelievable. Li Tao decided that when he sees a young and beautiful girl in the future, he should have a better attitude. Maybe that girl has something to do with Lord Sioruo. The other side. Yuki, you're really back. Asuna hugged Yuki's body, tears seemed to be about to flow from her eyes. Although she had thought that Yuki could be resurrected before, when this child actually appeared in front of her, Asuna still couldn't control her emotions. Sister, am I dead? Why? Yuki was still bewildered. She didn't know why she was resurrected after death. And she felt that she was in good physical condition now, as if she was not sick, and she hadn't experienced such a feeling for a long time. For Yuki, who was terminally ill, it was very difficult to breathe normally, and his body was too heavy to lift, but now his body is very light, lighter than ever. Is this what a body without disease feels like? Kirito also noticed this, although Yuuki's body was still very thin and her cheeks were as thin as a skeleton, but her mental state was very good. Grandma, Yuji's illness. Kirito looked at Lidao, wanting to ask about Yuuki's current state. If Yuuki's illness is not resolved, then Yuuki may still be unable to escape her fate. Lidao glanced at Xiaoruo, then smiled at Tongren, and said kindly. The doll I resurrected is absolutely the most perfect. As for the child's appearance, it is because the child's body was in this state when she died. When I resurrect the doll, it is natural to restore her appearance before she was alive. But you can also rest assured that the cause of this child's death was disease. Now her body is no longer the weak body she used to be when she was alive, but a Tao body made by me, so the problem of disease has disappeared for her. Of course, if you want to make her look like before, you can also spend reputation points to help her recover. Great, great, Asuna wiped the tears off her face. Sister, I'm resurrected, it's amazing. Yuuki looked at her hands that were so pale that they were sickly, and there was still a hint of disbelief in her expression. I feel that I have left this world, but it seems to be pulled back by something. This feeling is so wonderful, sister, why is this? It's because of a game, it's because of a game that you were resurrected, Asuna held Yuuki's hand. Hearing about the game, Yuuki seemed to be refreshed, and asked hastily. What game? Hearing this, Xiaoruo knew that it was time for her to play. It's a game that can give full play to your talent and also allow you to get mysterious rewards. Xiaoruo walked up to Yuki and looked straight into her eyes. With your strength, Yuki, you can also shine in that game, and your sister, your mother, can use the game. The rewards are revived. After Yuki heard Xiaoruo's words, his eyes lit up instantly. On the other side, Kirito moved closer to Lidao's side, and whispered in a slightly respectful voice. Grandma, I also have people who want to be resurrected. Xiaoruo agrees with Li Tao's use of resurrection to make money, and even this is the result of Xiaoruo's support later on. Anyway, through the mall, these transactions will charge transaction fees, and he must not lose money. And no matter how much Li Tao earned, he would definitely give it to him when he regained his youth, and the final prestige would flow into his own hands. And to restore youth, in fact, only need to consume a little prestige. Women's money is the best to earn. Xiaoruo knew this when she accompanied girls to shopping malls and saw almost all the shops selling things for women. Therefore, in the mall, it only takes 500 prestige to bring a dead man back to life, but it takes 1000 prestige to reduce a few wrinkles on a girl's face, and no woman will think there is any problem with this, because a woman's youth is inherently priceless. After successfully recruiting Absolute Sword Yuki, Xiaoruo returned to the real world from the sword world. This time, Xiaoruo has gained a lot. Not only has she recruited Absolute Sword, the top heroic spirit, but also with Yuki's influence in Alo, when the time comes, her expert partners in the game, as well as powerful players who are convinced by her, will join the original world in the future. Games. Recruiting Absolute Sword is equivalent to collecting a lot of heroic spirits and expanding the card pool, although garbage cards occupy a lot. Lidao was also very satisfied. She had already spent all her accumulated reputation. On her old face, the few obvious wrinkles became much lighter, and her skin became much more delicate. I believe that she will be resurrected hundreds of times. She can regain her youthful appearance. Joined Original Realm, the future is bright. Now the heroic spirits in Original Realm have prestige as their goal, and I believe they will be more diligent when working. On the right track, after Xiaoruo asked Kikyo to help her host Original Realm, she began her next phase of the task. The spectacle of the infinite city that I had prepared for a long time. The real world is in the new district of Tianbei City. The pirated infinite city already has a framework, but the core of Infinite City is Naruto's Space Blood Ghost technique in Blade of Ghost Slayer. I have to go to Ghost Slayer world. On the one hand, it is to find talents who can help him complete the miracle. On the other hand, he is to pull all members of the ghost-killing team into the Hall of Valor, and, by the way, get rid of Wumi who was not caught at the time. Without hesitation, Xiaoruo returned to the real world. After tidying up a bit, she chose to travel to the world of Ghost Slayer. I haven't been there for a long time, and I don't know how Miss Shinobi is doing, and Tanjiro, Kaneo. As soon as Xiaoruo thought about it, she disappeared into a black vortex in an instant. Step out. Appearing again, Xiaoruo appeared at the headquarters of the ghost-killing squad. This is where he left last time. The familiar scenery around him evokes Xiaoruo's memory when he was still here. Only. Xiaoruo frowned slightly, his perception was very keen, so he could notice that there was something wrong with the atmosphere in the headquarters of the ghost-killing squad. Xiaoruo raised his head, and above his head, a black crow just flew by. At this time, the crow's mouth moved slightly, as if it was conveying some message. Xiaoruo sighed. I see, Mr. Purgatory is dead. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 434. The sunlight in Ghost Slayer world is very dazzling. The warm sun shone on her face, which was a little dazzling, but very comfortable. Feeling the sun shining on her, Xiaoruo narrowed her eyes slightly. It may be because of the setting that ghosts are afraid of the sun. The world of Ghost Slayer seems to have sunny days, and the sun is softer than other animations. Xiaoruo likes the sun in this world very much. After hearing the message from the crow, Xiaoruo almost understood the timeline of the current ghost destroying the world. Although I solved Shangxian Liaology and Shangxian Tongmo in this world before, they were all resolved in advance across the timeline. Now that Yanzu just died, the timeline is probably the Infinite Train chapter. Yanzu just died in the third chapter of Shangxian. Hand. It's been a few months since I last left. For this world, the main story is only halfway through. Maybe Xiaoruo would feel sad when she heard the news of Yanzu's death before, but now Xiaoruo has a technical talent like Lidao who can bring back the dead, so she no longer feels the death of animation characters, and even thinks about how to do it. Use death to gain more benefits. After going through many worlds, Xiaoruo felt that her mentality seemed to have changed a bit towards the direction of boss. After being exposed to the sunshine of this world, Xiaoruo suddenly thought of something, and a smile appeared on her face. By the way, I haven't done a fan animation for a long time. Why don't I do it again today, and add some background settings from the original world by the way. Ghost Slayer world is indeed a very suitable world for making fan animations. Last time, Tom Miaozu became popular and contributed a lot of prestige to Xiaoruo. Xiaoruo's fan animation is not only for prestige, Xiaoruo is also very interested in it, and if the ghost-killing team joins the Hall of Valor, it is best to have a background animation, and the fan animation can be directly used as the background animation of the heroes. Nowadays, doujin animation is no longer needed for the growth of reputation. Xiaoruo almost forgot that the system still has such a function. The main line of the fan animation this time might as well be to imagine the Hall of Valor to come to the world of Ghost Slayer to collect heroic spirits and gather partners. Thinking of Xiaoruo, she didn't hesitate. After thinking about the plot of this fan animation, Xiaoruo felt that she still needed to plan the outline and find some actors, so she turned around and disappeared in place. A gust of wind blew by, as if nothing had happened there just now. About half an hour passed. In the headquarters of the ghost-killing squad, where Xiaoruo had just disappeared, Xiaoruo reappeared in black. In order to do animation, Xiaoruo went back and changed her outfit. This black dress was changed from the ReZero World Night outfit at that time. It was given to him by Ram himself at that time. Now Xiaoruo just changed the color a little bit. In Sioruo's opinion, this outfit is both handsome and very in line with his own style. If you want to do fan animation, the animation has already started the moment you step into this world. As if realizing that there was a camera, Sioruo's expression became much calmer. Not long after Sioruo appeared, two black vortexes appeared behind Sioruo, and soon, two figures walked out of the vortex. Lord Sioruo. Lord Sioruo. The two figures that just appeared were behind Sioruo, and said respectfully to Sioruo. Sioruo looked calm and nodded slightly. In order to make fan animations, Sioruo also found two attendants. After all, the general boss has a momentum with a few younger brothers behind it, and it looks more formal. The main plot of the fan this time is to fantasize about the ghosts coming to the Hall of Heroes. The world collects heroic spirits. In this case, not only myself, but also heroic spirits from other worlds must participate. Behind Sioruo is Li Tao, Sioruo's confidant ghost girl. With the ability to resurrect, she is now Sioruo's favorite talent, and she is also the cornerstone of the Hall of Valor. Li Tao's face is still old now, but the wrinkles on his face have become much lighter. When he looks at Sioruo, he will show a respectful expression. At this time, Li Tao also changed out his tattered old cotton robe, and put on a cloak bought at the mall, with purple patterns on the black background. Half of his face was covered under the hat, revealing the appearance of a witch all over his body. Temperament. There is a huge sickle stuck in the back. If Li Tao really becomes younger in the future, this unique outfit may make her a popular character. The other heroic spirit behind Sioruo is a newcomer to the Hall of Valor, Absolute Sword Yuki, also known as Kano Kawaji. Because the world of Ghost Slayer is honestly also a world of swords, Yuki is one of the few sword masters in the Hall of Valor, and Sioruo pulls her over to make up the number of people. This child seems very sensible and enthusiastic, and he is still a newcomer. Sioruo thinks it can be cultivated. At this time, the image of Yuki's heroic spirit is the image in Al-Zero, with a short stature, but because of the dark fairy blood, the skin is milky white with a purple tinge. The long straight hair was a lustrous purple-black, the obsidian armor covering the chest had soft balls, and the blouse and long skirt that fluttered in the wind were the blue-purple color of cornflowers. Pinned to the waist is a thin black scabbard. Small cheeks, showing dimpled cheeks. Having just arrived in this strange world, Yuki's big flickering eyes were shining like amethyst, and she was looking at the surrounding scenery curiously. Lord Sioruo, are there any powerful heroic spirits in this world? Yuji asks Sioruo innocently. She also seemed to know the purpose of this trip early on, and as a newcomer, she was full of enthusiasm for her first mission. You will know when the time comes, come with me. After Sioruo finished speaking, she took the lead and walked towards the headquarters, followed by Yuji and Li Tao. The location Sioruo left last time was around the ghost killing squad, so she didn't walk for long. When she was about to approach the wall around the headquarters of the ghost killing squad, Sioruo stopped. In front of Sioruo's eyes, a small figure dressed in butterfly feathers suddenly appeared in the empty space, as if appearing out of thin air. Being stared at by those familiar, emotionless purple eyes, Sioruo looked a little embarrassed and forced a smile. Miss Shinobu, long time no see. Dai endured looking at Sioruo's familiar face, without any expression on his face, as if seeing a stranger. Her purple eyes passed over Sioruo, and looked at the two people behind Sioruo. From those two people, Dai Ren felt a little bad feeling, and there was a faint sense of danger. Butterfly Ninja's eyes lingered on Yuki's face for a while, as if she was a little surprised that there was such a cute girl. Sister, your speed is so fast, I didn't even see it clearly when you first appeared. Yuki smiled innocently at Butterfly Shinobu. Butterfly Shinobu didn't respond to Yuki's words, but Yuki's smile had a warm appeal, definitely the simplest kind of smile, which made Butterfly Shinobu relax a little bit. Bringing strangers to the headquarters needs to be reported to the Lord in advance. Sioruo, you have violated the team rules. Dinin's tone was cold, without a trace of emotion. Sioruo touched her nose when she heard Dai Ren's words. Shinobu, I brought you a present when I came back this time. Sioruo took out a gift box from behind her, which contained Sioruo's elaborate desserts, which Sioruo always prepared. Hee. Butterfly snorted coldly, but after hearing that Sioruo was bringing a gift for herself, the expression on her face became a little better. Butterfly Ren is like ordinary girls, knowing that Sioruo has not forgotten herself, the anger in her heart has dissipated a lot. My lord wants to see you. Although Sioruo appeared nearby and didn't see anyone else, Sioruo could feel that the defense around the headquarters was very tight. It seemed that the Lord had known about his arrival long ago, and specially asked Butterfly Ninja to pick him up. You two wait for me here. Sioruo ordered to Lidao and Yuji. Yes. Yes. Ahem. At this moment, in the headquarters, the Lord, who was completely blind, coughed up blood on the handkerchief, and his illness seemed to be getting worse. There is no trace of misery, death in purgatory, and Shangxian is still strong. My time is numbered, and Wu Mi must be resolved in our generation. Sioruo was involved in Shangxian's death, he is the biggest change in a century. The bloodless protagonist wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked out the window, as if waiting for Sioruo's return. Please remember the first domain name of this book. _WAP